Thoughts. I'm Chris.
I'm Adam.
I'm Topher.
Today we are talking about working with live sound engineers from the perspective of the band and vice versa. So let's get into it. First thing we got is light gear news topics. You got anything at all for this? We didn't talk about the Fender 60s.
Oh, yeah. I saw we had a 60th anniversary release of the Jaguar.
Cool. So it's the Squire one, though.
No, No, it's like the super fancy one.
You're right. Now that you do mention it, though, the Squire 40th anniversary Telecaster just got released.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's supposed to be like...
It's probably more my price speed.
Yeah, it's not looking cheap, if I remember right. Oh. Okay, well, $600. It's not... Oh, come on.
That's out of my price range.
It's weird to think that, like the Squire, those prices, because, like, I don't know, when I was learning how to play, it was like
99.
They were the bottom.
You're like, hey, let me get the cheap one, and then you're like, oh, it's like a trade-in cheap one. Okay, it's less than $100 or it's $150 new or whatever. So yeah, that's beautiful though.
Yeah, I'm not a big gold fan, but actually, if they flip that pick guard on it, I probably would be into it.
Block inlays even.
Yeah, that needs a blue chrome pick guard. I think is what that needs.
I can't tell from is that a gold like a metallic gold pick guard?
I think so. I don't.
Is it wood?
No,
Is it
it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
It looks
Can't really
grainy. It looks like it's got a grain going down.
Maybe,
or maybe it's gold plastic.
Gold plastic. Yeah, Squire Premium.
24-karat gold plastic.
Pyrite edition. Let's see.
You'd be a fool not to play it.
Aluminum pickguard.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
All right. Huh.
Indian laurel fingerboard. Ooh, that's fancy.
That is way fancier than you'd think a Squire would be.
Well,
I mean, that looks like it would be a Fender.
Yeah, and it's got the binding on the neck. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not a huge like gold everything.
No, me neither. But now, if it was a different color pick guard, I think I would be into this though. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's cool though.
Yeah. Anything else? Or are we just trucking right along today?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot.
Okay. All right, so let's move on right to our original riff challenge.
Oh no.
I am ready for it.
All right, are you guys ready?
Yeah. Well, you got.
I'm gonna read it off.
Yeah.
Then we'll have to flip. So today's original riff challenge. What if Steve Vai wrote the next Star Trek theme song? So we'll go into it. Having lost brutally to the Karate Kid in a shred-off in hell, Steve Vai has followed the crossroads back to Earth. After years of wandering, he's given a chance at redemption by a battle to the death with the fierce three-headed Ibanez Hydra. Feeling once again victorious, he's now determined to set his phasers to stun and follow in the footsteps of his idol, Captain Kirk. He will boldly go where no shredhead has gone before.
Well done. Well done. Call it.
Shit.
Call it.
Heads.
Yes.
Great. I feel like I just need to apologize ahead of time. Like, I was like, all right, I'm like, it's what it is. I think I approximated the tone for the guitar, but I was just like, all right, this needs to feel like movie thematic or whatever. So it's what I don't know.
Who'd you have do that part?
Did you have to play it on keys? And then
I was waiting. I was like, oh, let's see what I was waiting for the faces at the end. No, I did play that on guitar.
That was perfectly respectable. Like you were talking it down pretty hard.
So the ending of that one, I did play that on the guitar. I played whole notes to a click, and then I went and chopped them into bars and sandwiched them together.
Okay.
Beautiful. Nice. Dude, it sounded great.
Honestly, like that's. Have you watched that?
That was the most time-consuming part of that one, actually.
I'm proud of you.
Have
that
you
was
watched
really cool.
Cobra Kai on Netflix? So that sounds like what I would hear in the background of that. Like that's what that sounded like to be like I would see that. Like that sounded good.
Hey, Cobra Kai next season.
Yeah.
You need somebody to. I can throw a few licks.
So, I'm very curious to hear what you have for Star Trek.
So I violated some copyrights. Okay. The intro part I'm a little but once it gets into it, I'm feeling pretty good. It is a bit sloppy, so.
Guitar in here.
My mix was shit. I'll say that, but
I will kind of agree with that.
yeah, my mix was awful.
But I felt like that was a little bit more in the vein of the Star Trek kind of like that, and I like that one.
You're a nerd. Name which one that series that came from.
Was that from the that was from the show?
That was from Next Generation. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, it's not from one of the movie things.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. It was just that first like, yeah. Then I was like, it's that there.
Yeah.
But you didn't use a contrabass.
I did not.
Or timpani.
I liked your timpani a lot better.
I did like the timpani.
Yeah. I would concede defeat on that one.
I think you would. I think you.
Like I said, my mix was awful.
Yours was sloppier, but yours was also sounded like it would be for Star Trek, where mine didn't necessarily sound like that.
Yours felt a little bit more like barbaric kind of.
Yeah.
I heard Karate Kid. That was
I when I finished mine, I was like, I feel like this isn't like triumphant like this. It's not. If this was Star Trek, it was for the bad guys. Like,
or if you just had like that pulsing like synth bass rhythm in yours, it would have been great for Miami Vice. Miami Vice. I mean that in a good way because I love Miami Vice. I'll admit it.
For no apparent reason, I'll give it to Chris.
Yep.
All right. I kind of worked on mine this time. Kind of worked hard a little. Not that hard. All right. So, moving away from that travesty as well, on to our main topic today.
Right.
So we're talking about sound guys this week.
Coffee to kick back in.
You've been a sound guy before.
I have.
I've been a sound guy before. You've yelled at sound guys before.
Very, very often.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it? How often do you?
I've been a sound guy.
Have you?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I run sound for bands that
fair
show,
enough.
like O's and stuff.
Okay.
That's my.
Okay. So do you prefer? Is that something you guys like to do anymore? Or?
I feel like it's interesting when you've had both roles, right? Like when if you've been on the other side communicating with the sound guy, but then you've had to be that person for a band, like you get an interesting perspective where you go, okay, I can understand how like it could be frustrating, but like it's still hard not to sometimes get frustrated. But you also know like when you have a really good sound, like how much you can appreciate somebody who's really good at sound, especially the communication.
Yeah, I think one of the things. So so for the audiences, no, I used to work sound for a bunch of theaters, and I did like large, like usually we're running 16 microphones. You're a 6-piece band, usually 2 keyboards, maybe a guitar player, which wasn't very common, bass player, and then drums. Usually 4 mics on drums. I don't know. I think since after doing that, I feel like I'm a lot more. I get frustrated with sound guys easier nowadays. And I can't say why for certain, but it does seem to be.
Yeah, I think it depends a lot, right, on the bands. When you're running sound, because like sometimes bands are really clear on what they need, and you're like, okay, I know exactly what you need. And then other times, like if people, like from the perspective of running sound, like if people get frustrated with you, but they haven't really explained what they need, then I can see why and granted, I'm not always running, like I just do sound for people occasionally, and occasionally I'll book. I have booked to do it for folks, but yeah, like if they're clear on it, it's easy. And if somebody is not, like then you're like, well, I'm trying to give you something.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. What do you guys usually look for when you hire a sound guy? Like, what do you need most, or like, have you even hired a sound guy in the past few years, or
in the past few years? Not so much.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I have always been like, like the out of necessity. It seems like I've always been like I've ran sound for the band, or as a band collective, we've had gear and ran sound. Some venues are awesome and they have people to do it, but like I feel like a lot of times you just end up learning to run sound because the venue you play doesn't have stuff.
Right. Nobody else has a PA.
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know. I think the one thing that I would expect from a sound person, as the band, is just it's one thing to like for them to be able to get the sound for the audience, right? Like because it's not that hard, or it's not as hard because the speakers are, depending on how you're running it, a lot of times the sound guy's out here in a booth or out in front, you can hear the main speakers.
Yep.
So that's one thing. Running monitors for someone, like
monitors is always the hard part.
Right?
Yeah, that is.
Like usually, and this is I think where my frustration has been, because in my mind, mostly what the band should need, at least to me, is just lead vocals and maybe a kick drum or something like bass, and that's pretty much it. I have argued with folks in the past about like you do not need both guitar players, bass, drums, all the vocalists, all that coming through your one monitor, because you're just going to end up fighting feedback the entire time for one. And for us to mix that to where it sounds good, sounds like a full band mix, is almost impossible.
Yeah, I think if you're right. If it's a traditional, like if it's the traditional band setup where it's guitars, bass, drums, everybody's playing through amps, then you probably, at least in any of the size venues that I've worked in, normally you only need really vocals in the monitors most of the time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Unless everybody's spread like super far across the stage and you can't hear like the one guitar amp or the keyboard amp. There might be something you need a little of, but for the most part, mostly it's vocals.
That's true.
And maybe a monitor in the back for the drummer.
Yeah, okay. So
that's
drummer does
one.
need
yes.
probably a little bit more than the rest of us.
That's something I always kind of tend to forget. And poor Isaiah is trying to I think I know what's happening in the song. Sorry, Bubba.
And it's funny, like sometimes depending on the kind of place it is and the monitors they have, I've noticed places that if they just have a few monitors, they tend to be across the front of the stage. If anybody gets left out, it tends to be the drummer.
Yes, it's true.
Where sometimes you go, well, probably that's one of the most important monitors.
Yeah, definitely.
Drummers, bless you. We appreciate you. You're troopers. We don't deserve you. We really don't.
I often think about the how do I want to say it, over enthusiastic lead singer who wants to run from one side of the stage to the other in front of the mics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing I've seen in the past. Topher. No.
I'm not bad at that.
No, you're not. You're pretty good at that. But I also haven't run sound for you, so I don't have to.
But also, that's one reason why I like to have a switch on my mic.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I never thought about that.
Like if I'm moving around and doing stuff, and if there's no volume coming from me, I like to be able to cut my sound out so that I'm not feeding anything back, or you're not hearing as I bang a mic or something.
So when I did theater stuff, we would tape those buttons down for the vocalists, because it always seemed to be you had, and it would be your leads every time. So you'd have 8 people who are going to be on the front of a musical. It's they present the theme at the front, of course. So you have your leads come out, they do their part, they go off stage, they come back on stage, and this is all happening just in a few span of 2 minutes. And some of these guys, they'd think, oh yeah, I go off stage, I have to flip my mic off. Problem is, they do that, they get excited, they're not thinking, they forget to flip it back on.
Yeah.
And guess who gets blamed for that?
Why don't I get any sound?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a thing that happens.
And there's been times where I forgot to flip it back on, but like that's my own fault. I know that.
Yeah, especially if you run your own sound. I mean, you can't. Yeah.
I don't think I have any mics with switches on them. Well, at least not like live mics.
My Audio Technica. I love my Audio Technica.
You've had that thing as long as I remember. That blue one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as long as I remember, you've had that thing. Yeah.
I got that back in 2008, 2007.
Okay. Yeah.
So like, what if situations like my thoughts on the sound thing? It's like, as when you're in the band, like preparing, like say a venue where they have a sound person, right? Like, but you don't maybe don't know what it's going to be like. Like, how do you prepare as a band? Like, whether it's like what you guys need at the show from them, or like what gear you need to bring so that you are like, okay, I don't have to worry about this. I was trying to think of like, for me, like I like to think, well, sometimes I like to use really small guitar amps because for stage volume, everything else. But if there's a sound where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get everything I need, then sometimes I think about maybe I need to bring a little louder amp, so I only have to worry about them getting me some vocals.
I think that comes back to, and you've probably heard this before. The good rule, your sound from the source needs to be good before anything else, right? So like if your band sounds good just as a band, unmiked, or not through a PA system or any of that stuff, like then generally all they should be doing is just sound reinforcement to the literal degree, right? At least I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can if you can get all you need out of a practice space and you can hear yourself fine in practice, why can't you have a good sound put in on a stage? There is the fact though that like you're lined up differently when you're performing, because everyone practices in a circle. It's just what you do.
Yes.
So like that changes.
I've never done that. That's interesting.
What? Practice?
I never practiced in a circle. Shut up.
Heartache only practices in a trapezoid. Okay. It's the only
hexagon.
Hexagon.
But
the line's taped out.
I lost it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that does bring up a really good point. And
so a sound guy should just be helping you get, just direct it out.
And it does make a difference where you're playing too, right? Playing down at the landing, where you're outside on the river, nothing for the sound to bounce off of. Yeah. Sounds like one thing. Doing O's is a completely different thing. Small bar. Yeah. Yeah. So like what you need really is completely different.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't say completely different. How your sound is getting to the PA equipment is going to be completely different, I'd say.
Yeah, there are some venues where you go, okay, you don't have to really mic any of the amps because it's the shape of the place and the size, where, then you get to another venue and you're like, oh, this is way bigger than I was expecting. And then you hope that everything gets mic'd correctly. I don't know. I always think about it from the point of like, it's funny, like when you're running sound, I always like it when everyone has small amps and like less sound, because then if you're the sound person, you're more in control of the sound out front.
Yeah.
But like then as a musician playing somewhere, I feel like I always bring more than I would necessarily bring, just because I don't know what I'm gonna get.
What you're gonna be able to hear for yourself.
Yeah.
One of the things I got spoiled with when I was at the Civic in particular is it's nice for musicals and that kind of thing. The band does perform usually in that circle. Like they don't have to face the audience because they can't see the audience. They want to see the director, whoever's, waving the stick around. Most of the time they end up putting like the plexi shields up and everything. So usually you can get away, like those kind of guitarists get away with being able to bring big amps if they want to. Yeah, so it's a little nicer. And the drummer always is behind a plexi shield at some point.
As they should be.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You said a metal shield?
Get back there, but you diseased monster. No, wait, crap. Well, I just said how much I respect and appreciate drummers, and I'm like, yeah, you're a disease. Get out.
Yeah.
Can you guys make those plexi shields like 4 inches thick?
Yeah, exactly. Guys, why can't I hear myself? Oh man. Yeah, and I lost my train of
That's
thought.
okay.
Yeah, no.
So what do you think? Like, if you go to a show and it isn't the best sound guy, how do you handle that?
Oh boy. Because I've definitely had shows where the guy just seems like he's woke up on the wrong side of the bed. He's just in a mood. You gotta roll.
It's called
with it.
being a sound guy.
You just gotta roll with it. Like there's not really much you can do. You're not gonna change him. You're not gonna get what you need if he's not gonna give it to you. So you just learn to adapt.
Only thing you can do. I don't know. We didn't really have any bad sound guys this year, as far as I recall.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, we either ran our own sound or it was shows that had. I mean, yeah, we've actually had the last year has been pretty good luck.
Yeah, there was a scheduling issue with one, but the actual ability for him to run sound was good. Yeah.
I had experience with one bad sound guy this past year. Not with the band, just with another thing. Well, I'm not going to name names.
Yeah.
But I will say at the show, the person running sound was a volunteer, and the mixing board that they were using, they clearly had never used, and it was one with digital layers and everything, and this is one of those awkward moments, right? Like where you're like, okay, like I can go and fix it because I know the board.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, it's a brand and model that I'm very familiar with.
Yes.
And they were like trying to, it was like, hey, could we have some monitors for this and this? Okay. And you're like,
Maybe. Yeah.
He's like, it's like, is that better? And I was like, it didn't change. Well, how about now? Is it better? And there was a point where, and I feel bad, but like I went down there and I just did it.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, do you mind? Like, and like, so I think, and he then, fortunately, they were pretty gracious about it. They weren't, they didn't get upset about me like coming down there and adjusting the monitor mix.
Yeah.
But
fair enough.
But like, I think you kind of have to play those things by
ear. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, I can definitely say, after doing a lot of shows, there's a couple times when I was not a good sound guy, and some of it was me. There was a couple times where it was equipment failure, and like I couldn't do anything about the equipment failure. Like, sorry to that group, there's nothing I could do about that equipment failure. Yeah.
There are things you can fix, and there are things that you cannot.
Yes, it's true. Yes, when your soundboard, during the middle of the show, the only soundboard you have, and you're offering your services for free and can't afford to buy another soundboard, lights up, shorts out, and drops. There is nothing you can do.
Oh, so like when I played the Battle of the Bands last year and the soundboard overheated, and I'm just trying to get through a song with just my amp.
Yeah, at some point there's just not. It's nobody's fault. It's just something that happens, man.
Oh, we had. Were you playing when we played? Were you with us when we played the Harley Davidson?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, we played there. We've played a few shows there, and that wasn't this last summer. That was a couple summers ago, I think. But this was like just one of those like weird like I remember Grip's amp, like his bass amp overheated.
Oh wow!
And it was just like all of a sudden it was like I can't get anything, and unfortunately it was like it was like a break or something. I don't remember if it was a break in the set or whatever. But we turned it off and it came back and it was okay.
Right.
But I was like, okay, how do you prepare? Like, and I was like, okay, we'll DI it, and so
that's where things kind of can get tricky. Is when you're doing this sound stuff outside, because you're exposed to the elements. Like, is it going to rain? Are you in direct sunlight? Are you covered?
Is the power good? Is the power you're getting? Is it going to be clean and grounded?
feed it after midnight.
Did you feed it after? Did your drummer borrow his granddad's generator and drag it out in the middle of a parking lot for you guys to use for a show, and now you have to play over the sound of a generator? That might have happened once. Yeah,
those are never fun.
It was. It actually wasn't as bad as I make it out to be. Like, it worked. We did it.
It's a fun little memory. Yeah.
Would not do it again, but it worked. Yeah. Oh man.
That reminds me of when we had that goodbye show for Sawyer for El Camino Hot Tub, and they were.
You guys had a terrible sound guy that day.
We rented the space, and No, that wasn't.
That wasn't when I ran sound.
That wasn't that. We rented Fryman Square, and I got there, plugged everything in, no power, and I was like, I called them up. I was like, they're like, I guess the city's working on like there's some power. Their power company's working on stuff. There's power out throughout like the whole block.
Oh wow.
So I'm like, well, that's a problem because music needs power.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we had to hunt down a generator, and like the generator is like right there next to the band, so you're just hearing that generator
the whole time. Crank it up.
Good times. Good times.
So when you guys do hire sound guys, on the rare occasion you do and don't bring your own sound equipment.
Yeah, like never.
Yeah. Have you ever hired a sound guy?
I have.
Okay. What's the usual pay rate for those? Like, or what do you guys?
See, here's the thing though. For that, there's one. There's I can't remember. Our name is taken. You know. Yeah. What's
Crystal?
Yeah, Crystal
Davis.
She's ran sound for Made O's once, and she was fantastic, absolutely amazing. But
she recorded the first Heartache.
I don't really. Oh, I don't remember how much I paid her, but I don't think it was very much.
Was it like a cut of the evening, or was it?
It might have been that.
Okay.
And then recently, I hired a good friend from another band to run sound, and I was I was trying to get a flat rate from him. He's like, oh, we'll figure it out. And by the end of the night, he's like, I was just happy to do it. I don't want anything.
That's fair.
So I when he wasn't looking, I shoved a bunch of money in his equipment. Mm-hmm. Hopefully he found that.
What was I really going to say? Yeah, the pay rate for sound guys, do you hire them that often, or
do I hire them very no. I'm trying to think of a time that I hired actually hired an outside sound guy and paid them. That sounds bad. No,
actually paid them.
No.
When I didn't
where
just run away afterwards. And
yeah, I feel like most of the time it's either been a venue has a sound guy or they haven't, and it's been like I think one of the only times that I didn't have the gear for it, and we had to do the sound, and it was actually a pretty big outdoor thing. Grip had the stuff in his garage, because he's got this ancient PA system that weighs 1 million pounds, but they're like the big tower speakers cabinets. So we used that and his power amp and everything, and I just brought a mixer and it was like
good to go.
Yeah,
nice. Okay.
So like, I normally I'm in the same boat where I'm providing my own sound, but there's the instances where I'm short for time to get to the gig, or I've got something else going on. I don't have the time to set up, so that's where I'll get a sound guy. And also, I'm just tired of doing it for myself. It's so hard to, because you can't adjust in the middle of a song what's going on. You just have to. Well, that song sounded terrible.
Yeah, it's always better to play and not run.
Yeah, try on the next one. Oh. that thing needs adjusted this way. And by the end of the set, maybe you get it all right.
I think you guys kind of touched on this earlier a little bit, but like mostly when y'all are bringing your own sound equipment, really the only thing that's run through is usually the vocals and maybe bass, right? Like,
Yeah, typically.
Yeah, not a whole lot else. I especially like, I mean, none of us have PA systems that could, you know, mic the local Coliseum or something, but most of the time your guitar amps are going to keep up with it. Your drummer is going to keep up with it.
Yeah, I think any shows that we've had that were, if I mic'd anything else, like at the most, if it's depending on the type of room, I might have mic'd the kick drum.
Yeah,
just to get a little bit more of a, so everybody can feel it.
With me, it's a little trickier because I got Amy. I got to get the keys in there.
Oh yeah, I forgot
yeah.
about keys.
Some keyboard players have their own amp, and then there's some keyboard players just go straight in, and we've tried a lot of different things with keys. I'm not a great sound guy, guys.
We usually go straight in
with keys.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm not a great sound guy, so like I've just been trying to plug in different things as I go and figure it out.
Usually, my experience, keys are usually the easy, like it's straight in. And you just set the levels. You don't have to EQ it. You don't want to EQ it generally.
Yeah, but also that's where you're playing yourself, and if she can't hear herself, like if she isn't right in that mix, that song is just gone for her because I can't fix it.
Yep, that's fair.
That's where a sound guy comes in handy for us.
I've never tried this for full band stuff, but I suppose it could be applicable, so you could walk away. I know for like when I play acoustic shows now, a lot of the times when I set, because I might use a monitor but it's usually a tiny monitor, and mostly I'm worried about the sound out front at that point because I don't know what people are hearing. A lot of times I actually will play like 4 8-bar phrase through a looper. And let it play, and then I walk out in front and I go, okay, how does that sound? And then I can go back and adjust the EQ or volume on the channel to make sure it sounds okay and it's loud enough. And then it's mostly, for me, I use the trick of on stage. I actually run I'll run like a one main if it's a small venue for acoustic because you don't really need a stereo, and then the other main channel I just run it to a small monitor on stage, and then set with the volume quieter. And that way on stage, then as long as my vocals are balanced in the monitor with my acoustic guitar, then I know it's balanced up front, and I kind of already know what the volume is for the guitar. So
that makes sense. And
it's kind of a cheat way to do it for
acoustic gigs, yeah. And you were talking about setting the looper through. That's pretty much how I used to build sound systems for larger venues, like schools especially. When I'd get hired for Southwest Allen or Fort Wayne Community, most of the time they don't know how their own setup works. There's no documentation. Like there's maybe a kid who kind of has an idea of what's going on. And so I'd show up. Usually you take your phone, you start putting it through the soundboard, just let it run and see what happens. And you go start plugging stuff in, seeing what's going on. And it's not the best method, but it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you have to, if you're doing both, if you're doing the sounds, you got to be able to have some kind of source.
Yeah. And you don't want to have to keep going back and forth when your sound booth is up here. Yeah. You got to run through a whole stage. And yeah.
I will say that was easier to do those kind of things with the, even though I don't have it at this point, when I was using like the wireless mixer,
the iPad,
because I could literally walk out front with the iPad and adjust, like be like, oh nope, too much volume here or there.
Yep.
Like when you walk away and look at it.
Yeah, most of the venues I was at where they would be using those old Mackie boards, the analog boards, so you never get the chance to do any of that. I think the only one we had the opportunity for iPad was, that might have been the Civic, because they had a digital board, and I can't remember what it was, but it was early on. I would have been using an iPad 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this was way, way early on. It was still running out and making your adjustments, going back and forth.
Yep.
Kind of a pain.
So, stage plots in relation to sound. I don't know how familiar or how much you guys have dealt with that, or because I've noticed for me in the last, I feel like just the last few years that sometimes venues are like, hey, can you just send us a stage plot? Can you send us what's your band layout?
Yeah.
What do you need?
Did you get those a lot?
Never used to. They would just be like, "Hey, like, how many people are in your band?
Okay.
What do you guys play?" And like, I've just noticed like several venues in the more recent years have been like, "Hey, can you send us a stage plot?"
Yeah, I've noticed that recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that back when I in December when I played at Baker Street. I was they wanted a stage plot, and then there was, I think it was for the art festival,
Taste of the Arts.
Taste of the Arts.
Yeah, they asked
they
for
won.
one.
Did
Yeah.
they? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen them more recently.
The Clyde usually asks for one. I think.
Interesting.
And honestly, I like getting it to them. I like being able to get
I mean, anything
what
you
I
can-
have beforehand.
Yeah, any information you can share ahead of time always.
Like there've been bars where I've even like sent ahead of time, like, hey, this is what we're working with, just so you're not like, especially when you're an 8-piece band.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was one thing I made damn sure that I let people know what we're bringing.
I think from like the perspective of being a sound, I could imagine like I've done sound for a fair number of bands, but like I've never been in a situation where I've gotten someone like the email, they're like, this is our layout, and I could imagine how helpful that would be to go, oh, okay, that's how many people you have, and this is where you usually are. Like I'm a do things in advance kind of person, so I like to show up early and have everything already in place.
Like I can imagine just like being someone who runs sound for a venue, and then just night after night, just like, let's see what we're getting tonight. I don't know.
So luckily for what I did, usually we would have a stage plot for the backing band itself. The on-stage band or the on-stage vocalists, when you're doing musicals and that kind of thing, is a little different. We would set up for probably a month of shows at a time. So what they would do is they'd have us go into I can't remember what the meetings were. You basically sit down with all of your design people, sound, lighting, TD, all that stuff. And they start talking about, okay, this is the kind of music we need or having in the background. This is who we're working with. Here's a director. You make a list. You end up drawing that out based on who your TD is, your technical director, the guy that builds all of the walls and crap, has to tell you where he's putting everything. And then you have to worry about the flies and everything, curtains and everything coming down ahead of time.
We are so different. We are in such different worlds.
Yeah, this is a much bigger thing that to deal with. So you have to work with them. You have to figure out where all of the band is going. And then on top of that, you have to worry about, can that band actually go there, and can I get a snake to them?
Oh, yeah. That's the challenge there.
And they don't want actors tripping over anything, because you also have to be not like OSHA compliant, but anytime you drop down gaff tape, you have to drop down spike tape with it too. That spike tape can't interfere with any of the moving sets that come in and out, and that's its own
I feel
hell.
What's spike tape?
Thank you. I was going to say,
tape.
I feel a little dumb, but I don't know what that is.
Glow tape, paper tape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just spike tape. Usually it's like the bright green stuff.
Okay.
you get.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So it makes it more visual.
Yeah.
I'm glad we were both like, well,
Yeah,
Spike
I was
tape,
like,
yeah.
oh, there's a new one. I don't know.
Spike.
this is
Paper
a new tape.
Yeah.
Like, I've used gaff tape lots, but
Yeah.
spike tape, I don't know what that is.
You lay your gaff tape down, then you spike around.
so like
it.
masking tape.
Yeah. pretty
I was just imagining
heavier.
small spikes on it. Like,
Yeah. You can't.
It sounds dangerous, honestly.
can't
Probably
let
shouldn't do
fall.
From my experience, you can't let actors or vocalists especially run too far.
I gotcha.
Yeah. They're you got to put them on like those kitty leashes.
Yeah.
Drag you around the stage.
I mean, if you have a nice line of spikes, then
Yeah, then they can't. It's like putting your dog in an electric fence. Same deal. But no,
just electrify the barrier of the stage and
Yeah.
color.
that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. And then people, especially when they take their little countryman mics around, you have to chase them down because you're like, it's $250, you bastard. Yeah. Don't work with countrymen. Don't.
I'm
like
not.
countrymen.
I'm not even going to get into that discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Countrymen, the mic packs,
Headset, the
no.
little headset mics.
and then it goes around here,
No.
or it goes over your top of your head.
It's the mics that everyone thinks they can bend and adjust over and over as many times as they want.
So to give you an idea, we ran anywhere between 8 and 24 mics for the every year they have a specific budget to replace each of those leads. And we're replacing at least half every run of a show. They do not like that. Each of those leads is $100. Yeah. It's a mess. Yeah.
I was going to show this. There's a stage plot from Taste of the Arts.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Can we put that up on the thing so people can see what a...
We can.
Yeah.
Yep.
People see what a stage plot actually looks like?
Yeah, this last year, because people started asking, or well, I guess a couple of years ago, people started asking for stage plots so much. I was like, oh, like, let me find a good way to make one. Discovered, there's a phone app for making stage plots.
Oh.
That was like, I think it was like $5.
What's the phone app called?
It is called Stage Plot Guru.
Stage plot.
There's one that I use that's just free online. Like
Yeah.
if you just Google stage plot generator.
This one, like, it literally lets you pick the type of mic stand you want.
That's pretty cool.
The type of guitar or bass. You can be like, oh, this acoustic. Oh no, or electric. It's more of like a Les Paul or a Strat. You can pick small or large combo amps, heads, dynamic or condenser. Like it, you can pick like whatever you want, and
I
then
just put
label
that
them.
down in the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Holy
cool.
crap.
It's a cool app.
Yeah, I'd have thought to do it in like draw.io or something like
Yeah.
that. But that's a lot nicer.
Yeah,
Holy
I was
crap.
surprised somebody had thought of it, but I found that useful for.
I remember back, I think about a year ago or a little over a year ago, I was getting super frustrated with trying to like remember where everything went, and because I was gigging so consistently, I was gigging a lot, and I wanted people in the band to be able to help. Like 'cause everyone kind of, when I'm setting up, everyone's just like, "Is there anything I can do to help?" I'm like, "You don't know what you're doing. Go away. Don't touch my stuff." But so I made like a chart of where, I had different colored lines going to different things, and I had everything lined up of where I want everything, and then you buy new stuff, and then you have to constantly change it, and it didn't work like I wanted it to.
So you guys have met before. My dad does sound for like the church and that. What he does with everything is he at the end of XLRs, he wraps label tape on them and then writes down numbers, and everybody always keeps the same number every show, like every performance. So like if you're number 6, you're always number 6. And they know, like, they get mic labeled number 6, they get XLR labeled number 6, it goes into channel number 6. Everything's there always,
right?
So that way they can replicate no matter what. If they tear down, they bring it back up. And then he's got, of course, the scenes program into the soundboard where he just USB, boom, everything right back to normal.
Nice.
Yeah.
That makes. I mean, the more particular you are up front, the more like things are. That kind of makes it minimal after the fact, where you just go, okay, everything goes into this spot, that spot.
Yep.
Go. All right, we're good. We're done.
And if you keep your people all knowing the same, like, hey, I'm always this number, like, and I'm only using this equipment, I'm always going here. Like, they only have to do their one thing, and that saves you one thing times. Well, he's working with 12 people. 1 times 12, like, that's a lot of time saved.
That's 45.
1 times 12 is 45.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Sounds good. All right. I think that we're pretty much coming up to it, unless y'all got anything else, sound guys?
I don't think I do.
Yeah. That was kind of all over the place, but I think we got the point across.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's not really a consistent opinion on everything. Like it's always going to be touch and go. So
And things are changing so quick. I mean, what, 10 years ago?
Oh my God!
10 years ago,
the equipment,
like the iPad thing was like brand new voodoo magic and could only be done in huge places. And then you did it quite a bit
And
as the cheap option.
Over the last even going back a little more, like over the last 15 or 20 years, like the amount of bands that had their own sound gear compared to the amount that have them now.
Yes.
Like almost every band you meet has some kind of PA, whether it's a practice or like one they can use for a small gig. Like, you can get a reasonably good sound out of gear that like it doesn't
Isn't
cost
that
that
big.
much, like
No.
or it isn't that big. Where like in the past it was like, okay, if you want good sound, you're gonna have to hire someone because
That also means
all you
most
can afford is bad gear.
Yeah, that also means most venues have it nowadays.
Yeah.
And we keep touching on it, but you and I can run ampless if we need to, and that's a whole new level of magic.
Yeah, which takes you to a whole different territory when you're talking about running sound.
Yeah.
Then you go, okay, you're in charge of all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because like there's a lot of venues who want you to run entirely like silent soundstage. So all of your guitars, all your basses, keys, everything is just right into the PA.
Just take away the drummer sticks.
Yeah.
I think it's one important takeaway we can have from this is that keep your sound guy happy. Just work with your sound guy.
It's true.
Because I mean they do a lot of magic. So like.
There's something to be said for even having a half-assed decent sound guy. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times they're just working with what they got, trying to make do. So if you can work with them ahead of time and let them know what you're doing, it's going to make everything so much better for you.
Absolutely.
I feel like we've had a theme the past couple weeks, guys. Communication is important.
Oh man,
communication.
Oh boy.
Yeah. All right. On that note, this week's featured artist is TV Cop, and Topher is going to introduce them.
I came across these guys as a sponsored ad on Facebook, which is weird because I think towards like one of our first episodes, I was like, yeah, sponsored ads don't get you nothing. That thing's that's stupid. But then like there's been a couple like sponsored bands lately, like or they've made ads that I'm like. All right, I'll take a listen. What is this? And I love it. Like, yeah, this TV Cop is it's punk music, and it's just it's a lot of energy. It's really cool.
Cool. Yeah. Do they know we're featuring them?
They do.
Okay.
They made a video.
Sweet. Okay. Awesome.
Hi, I'm TP, and I'm in TV Cop, and this is what I use to record Bad Brains with. There's a Mark bass head. There's a Sans amp, 3-channel tuner, and then I use this here P-bass.
I recorded on this new 2021 Dean on a Fender Champ 100. This one has vintage 30s in it, and it was set to the metal setting. I used a second Fender Champ with the stock speakers in it, set to just normal distortion setting.
All right, so that's all we have for this week. I don't know that we have a topic picked out for the next time, but that's okay. Thanks for joining us on Woodwire and Watts. Until next time, tune up,
crank the volume.
Let it rip.